Well, hello, good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Blake Burman. This is The Hill on News Nation. Jumping all in on jeans. First it was Customs and Border Protection, then the Defense Secretary, as a Sydney Sweeney ad becomes a denim dilemma.
That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
Even the President of the United States now talking about this one and posting about it as well today. Plus, speaking out after being knocked out. The woman assaulted in a late-night brawl in Ohio now revealing her story as a town hall is taking place at this very moment in Cincinnati involving that incident right there. We're going to take you live to Ohio tonight. Also, are all bets off? Gamblers say the one big beautiful bill was a flop. Some lawmakers say it's already time for a rewrite. We will show you why that now faces a new challenge. But first tonight here on the Hill, it is No Limit Texas Hold'em. This is not a game, though. Rather, a political showdown in the Lone Star State with threats of arrests and more. At this hour, more than 4 dozen state Democratic lawmakers have fled to the biggest blue states in this country, stopping a planned vote on newly drawn congressional maps. Right now, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has ordered the arrest of those Democrats. But this story does not end in Texas. Tonight, there are implications for the Lone Star State, 2026, Donald Trump, and beyond. Here's why. Let me show you how this all breaks down. So right now in the state of Texas, there are currently 25 congressional seats held by Republicans out of 38. This is how it all breaks down. Let me show you real quick. Obviously, the blue are the seats held by Democrats, the red held by the seats held by Republicans. Here's what I want you to focus on. The amount of blue here, and then these couple in the red, because this is Democrats who won by 10 and Republicans who won by red. You can see a lot of these seats are safe. But focus on all this and those two, okay? That's the situation right now. Let me take you to the proposed maps that could happen in the state of Texas if lawmakers there get their way. Now, all of a sudden, you see a difference, right? Those two in the middle go away. Every single Republican district is essentially safe. And then the amount of blue seats in there, if all of this goes forward, it becomes fewer. Maybe even a pickup of 5 for Republicans in that state in the U.S. House in 2026. So that's the backdrop, okay? And essentially right now, to protest all of this, more than 50 state Democratic lawmakers have left Texas. They're gone, they're out. That's because the state maps are normally drawn once a decade after the census. But the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, is not hiding from the 2026 implications and is slamming tonight the local Democrats for leaving.
To run to states like New York and Illinois to protest redistricting is kind of like running to Wisconsin to protest cheese. It's just kind of outrageous. Those are New York and Illinois, 2 hallmark states that have already done redistricting to eliminate Republicans.
And now the attorney general there in Texas is threatening arrest. But here are the stakes. Basically, if you do it, so could we. Say the biggest named Democratic governors, Gavin Newsom, California, J.B. Pritzker, Illinois, Kathy Hochul, New York, all saying that redrawing their state's maps now on the table.
Saving democracy is my top priority at any cost because it is under siege.
Trump came up with a new scheme, rig the system by ramming through a corrupt mid-decade redistricting plan.
We'll take back Congress. The President of the United States recognizes that, so he wants to rig the game.
All right, so now you've heard from both sides, right? Here's what I want to show you as both dig in. The right threatening arrest, the left threatening revenge. Since the 2000 census, all of these states, a dozen or so, have had some sort of redrawing of their congressional maps, mid-decade for varying reasons, the majority of which the courts ended up being involved, as in some cases they were court-ordered. But when you look at this map, look at these states down here in the south, up in the northeast, you're talking red states, blue states, and states that swing all the time, purple states. But tonight, you could say it is Monday Night Lights in Texas with this political football. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, Republican from that state, joins me in a moment. But we begin tonight here on the Hill with the head of the Texas Democratic Party, Kendall Scudder, who is with me tonight from Chicago, where some of those state legislators fled. Congresswoman, I'll get to you in a second. Kendall, thanks for being with us tonight here on the Hill. Nice to have you. Many of these, I believe it's over 50 of these Democratic lawmakers have said, we're out, we're going to other states. Illinois, New York, I believe some in Massachusetts as well. When should they head back?
Well, first, let's make clear what's actually happening. If Texas Democrats had their way, we would be having a special session addressing nothing but the flood relief. 137 Texans are dead because of the most deadly floods that this state had ever seen. We have had 1 hearing on flood relief and 7 on political districts. They are not doing the work of Texans. They're doing the work of Donald Trump. They're doing it because they want to avoid accountability. This billionaire bootlicking bill, it gutted Medicare and Medicaid, shuts down rural hospitals, and it makes your energy costs more expensive. And just
so
last week,
when should they go back, Kendall?
When
should they go back, Kendall? Because you're bringing up a host of issues. When should they go back?
I think that they should go back whenever the governor is ready to have a serious conversation about flood relief, because it's not the time for redistricting and redrawing maps and trying to steal congressional seats.
In a way, are you holding up the flood relief?
No, the governor has emergency powers and could do it at any time, and he's choosing not to do it. And so if he wants to sit around and play political games, we want nothing to do with that.
Kathy Hochul, the Democratic governor of New York, said this today, and I think this gets to part of the core of all of this. I want to play her soundbite, and then I'll get your reaction on the other side.
This is no longer the Wild West. We're not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen in a modern-day stagecoach hoist by a bunch of law-breaking cowboys. If Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same. There's a phrase, you have to fight fire with fire.
We are not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen, she says. But then she also says, if you do it, we're going to do the same. Isn't that sort of cutting to the height of hypocrisy on both sides with this?
Well, the reason it isn't is because if Democrats had their way, we would have national nonpartisan redistricting committees. What's not okay is when we have states like California where we're trying to be the adults in the room and create nonpartisan redistricting committees, but Republicans aren't willing to do the same.
I'm going to get to this with the Congresswoman as well. But it sounds like you're saying it's fine in California, but not fine to do it in Texas.
No, we want nonpartisan redistricting committees like they have in California all across the country. But unfortunately, they don't have those. And so we think that the blue states need to start carving up where they can to send a message that we need federal nonpartisan redistricting committees in this country.
She said, we're not going to tolerate our democracy being stolen, but we need to do the same if need be. You don't find that sort of hypocritical?
I think that it's important for Democrats to play these same games that Republicans are doing and stop trying to be the only adults in the room. If Republicans are going to behave that way, then we need to make sure that we're behaving in a responsive fashion in order to ensure that we aren't having the underhand whenever we're trying to pass legislation.
All right, he's the head of the Democratic Party there in the state of Texas, with us live tonight in Illinois. Kendall, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. I told you I'd get to the other side of the aisle. Of course, we want to hear from both sides. Back with us once again here on the Hill, she is Beth Van Duyne, Congresswoman from the state of Texas. Congresswoman, I'm going to get into all these issues with you. Let me start here, though. The AG down there, Ken Paxton, threatened arrest for these Democrats. Are you good with arrest?
Look, if you're not doing your job, you should not be in that seat. And I'm sorry, but the head of the California Democrats just now cracks me up. He wants to talk about fire with fire. He wants to talk about stealing congressional seats. You all wrote the rules. We're just playing by your rules. Let's face it. Democrats, you took the census numbers, which the Bureau will admit that those are wrong census numbers, that actually blue states benefited. They got extra overcounts. Republican states got undercounted. So California is holding on by a thread right now to even have the congressional seats that they had. If we corrected that, they would have less seats. You look at how they populated it. Hold on. You look at how they populated with illegal immigrants to make sure that they keep their seats. And California, 40% of the statewide vote is Republicans. And yet, Republicans only hold 9 out of 52 seats. So if you want to talk about Democrats all of a sudden wanting to fight fire with fire, they've already done it. But finally, Texas is looking at its map and saying, we have to be fair. You look at the work that Donald Trump is doing. It's ridiculous. It's totally within their constitutional right.
In your words, you feel that this is fair. I take your word that you believe that this is fair.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so then if in New York, Kathy Hochul,
Supreme Court.
If in New York, Kathy Hochul feels that it would be fair to redraw, and in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker feels it would be fair to redraw. Good with that?
Pritzker has already absolutely decimated Republican seats in Illinois. Absolutely decimated when he had an opportunity.
But you see what I'm getting at, Congresswoman.
California, the same way. Massachusetts, the same way. So I want to know
it's this ping pong back and forth.
Even thinner. What?
You see what I'm getting at is you get into this situation of this ping pong back and forth, which is what you view as fair in the state of Texas, J.B. Pritzker might view as fair in the state of Illinois and vice versa.
I think Pritzker's already proven that he thinks it's fair because he's already done it. They've already done it in California. Democrats have already done it in New York. They've already done it in Massachusetts. Now they're throwing up their hands because even though they got overcounted in the census, even though they had to fill their seats with illegal immigrants to be counted as part of the population to keep their congressional districts, and even though they have completely gerrymandered their seats to keep additional Democrat seats, they still don't have the majority because Americans can see through this and recognize the fact that their plans, their strategies, their morals were completely bankrupting our country. And as a result, during the vote, they came out and they voted for Republicans. And now Democrats are trying to hold on any way possible.
I want to note for our audience here on News Nation or those listening to us on SiriusXM, Congresswoman Van Dyne, as you know, of course, won her district in the state of Texas by 20 last go around. Let me leave you with this. Does this need to happen in the state of Texas for Donald Trump and Republicans to hold on to the House in 2026?
Look, I think what the state of Texas is doing is absolutely precedented. It's been proven legal by the Supreme Court. It's their constitutional right to be able to do it. I think it is very important that we try to counter some of these ridiculous radical measures that the Democrats have put in to be able to maintain power. I think the last 6 months has proven why Republicans need to be in the majority. And I listen to some of my Democrat colleagues that are already talking about if they win in the midterms, that they want to get rid of ICE, they want to take away additional objects, and the only thing they're going to concentrate on is impeaching Donald Trump. If you want to move this country forward, it's imperative that we actually have representatives in every single one of these districts.
Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne, a Republican from the state of Texas, with us tonight. Kendall Scudder, thank you as well to him. Thanks both. Appreciate it. So, of course, you as well. And so that's part of why we are doing the story tonight. You just heard there from both sides. The Democrats, what they say is at stake. The Republicans, what they say is at stake. And whether or not this is the beginning of a back and forth. We'll see. All right. Still to come tonight here on The Hill. Live look, Cincinnati, Ohio at this moment. You know him, Vivek Ramaswamy. Wants to be the next governor of Ohio. He says this event is not political, though. Holding a town hall after that violent brawl in Cincinnati. Vivek Ramaswamy live on the other side of the break when The Hill returns. Plus, deal or no deal, gambling, as you know, has exploded over the years. But should you pay more taxes on the money you lose? Why some now say yes. Plus this.
If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
Oh, man, he's not the only one talking about it. Why Customs and Border Protection and the Defense Department are chirping on this one. I thank you for being with us tonight here on The Hill. I'm Blake Burman, other side of the break. 4 minutes away.
What we are here to do is to talk about how we end the epidemic of violent crime spreading across the city and across the country. And with your help tonight, we are opening up a conversation in this city that finally puts an end to it.
You know him, Vivek Ramaswamy. He is now the Republican gubernatorial candidate in the state of Ohio. This is a live look right now. Cincinnati, Ohio. You can see Ramaswamy there, screen right. He is hosting an event in the wake of the recent violence there in Cincinnati. Last week's brawl in the downtown area went viral. The video disturbing and hard to watch. Ramaswamy now holding this event. Police say that the incident started out as a verbal altercation that escalated. Then people were beating and kicking each other. There was a woman on the ground knocked unconscious. 5 suspects now in police custody. The incident putting a spotlight on public safety as Cincinnati officials are facing major scrutiny for their response. This is a true Q&A, as you can see there. We'll dip in live for a moment here, Cincinnati, Ohio.
How did this happen? Lyndon B. Johnson, who was Kennedy's vice president, said, and I'm quoting, "I'll have voting Democrat for the next 200 years." And we're only 60 years in. The problem with our cities, you can hire all the police officers you want. It's a systemic problem. It's a spiritual problem. There are 75% of black babies are born out of wedlock. There are no fathers in the home. There's no discipline. You can hire all the police officers you want. It's not going to change anything. It's a systemic problem. It's a spiritual problem.
Apologize for the language there. Obviously listening into a live event there in Cincinnati, Ohio. When Ramaswamy talks, we'll listen, potentially bring it back in. I want to have Mick Mulvaney, NewsNation contributor, former Trump White House chief of staff, who is with me live. So too is Yemisi Egbawali, former official in the Biden White House, Democratic strategist as well. Hello to you both. We've been listening in and out over the last probably 25 minutes, half an hour or so. Mick, I found it fascinating that that Vivek Ramaswamy took to the stage and said, look, this is not political. We need to have a conversation on how to handle all this. Of course, he's running for governor, so everything that he says is political. But what do you make of what he's trying to do there in Ohio tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be political, right? How is it not? I mean, he's a candidate for office. It's a political topic. So, but let's put that aside. Everybody knows that. I'm not sure why Vivek would even say that, but it's a political discussion. It's the stuff I saw. It sounds like the questions were actually longer than the answers. So there's a little performance theater there in it. But look, I think, good politicians find issues that are important to people. Great politicians make issues that are important to people. Vivek, I think, thinks he's found an issue that's important to him. This is his hometown, I think. I think he's from Cincinnati. And look, if it happened in my hometown, if I've seen those videos, I'd be upset about it as well. So, I mean, let's not read too much into it. Yes, it's a political event, but it's probably not the wrong conversation to have. So give credit to Vivek and the folks who are participating in this tonight to at least maybe start a dialogue to see if they can improve things in their city.
Yeah, Missy?
I think about the mayor of Cincinnati and the fact that he said crime has definitely decreased. And while I think that is fantastic, he definitely has a growing problem in this city. I think there's a huge bystander culture that we've seen. I mean, the fact that only a few people even called the police. I think that caring about the safety of your community and your neighborhood is definitely a progressive value. And so I really want to see more Democrats come out along with him and speak more about this. I think it's an issue that Democrats definitely need to continue to be engaged in.
Can we pop up the live picture for a second? And I think I want to go back there momentarily. Cincinnati, let's take it live real quick.
The election, that's fine, but the other side has lost their way. Now it's up to us to level up, to man up, and actually say, what do we actually stand for? See, the other side might give us their own version of poison. We're going to stand for truth. We're done obsessing with the failures of the other side. We won in November of last year. Now it's up to us and what do we stand for? We stand for the fact that the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to the history of mankind. We stand for the truth that the U.S. Constitution is the greatest form of governance that we've ever discovered and secured grand total freedom known to history. Let's go back to you, man, and continue this conversation. We'll come over here after that, right, to this side of the room.
Mick, as we mentioned there, he's on the stage going through this, and I wonder what you expect out of him going forward as this becomes a conversation, obviously, there in Ohio.
Yeah, that wasn't politics at all, was it? That wasn't a campaign's little blurb, the other side, and what do we stand for, the nuclear. Right. No politics in that at all. Look, Vivek is interested in politics. He wants to be governor of Ohio. I get it. There's a lot of folks who are interested in politics, and I think this is a smart move for him, and we're covering it. And It's getting some good coverage back in the state of Ohio, so you can expect more and more of this. But at least it sounds let's hope it's a serious conversation. Let's hope that the folks who are there want to make things better, that it's not just a session to go in and yell and scream and sort of, try and see if you can become famous for 15 minutes to see if they can fix their city.
Missy, last word.
I mean, he can't run this all the way into elected office. He really has to come forward with something. It has to go more than outside the nuclear family. What are your actual policy issues here? How are you going to support community policing?
Missy, see you later in the show. Mick Mulvaney, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Listening and watching live there in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, still much more ahead tonight here on the Hill. Why a conservative group wants gamblers to pay taxes on money that they even lose. This is now a story that has gone beyond just Las Vegas, Nevada. Remember that whole one big beautiful bill? Is a rewrite actually coming if you gamble? When the Hill returns. .30 here on the East Coast and in our nation's capital, and 3:30 out there in fabulous Las Vegas. Live look at the world's gambling capital, but could luck soon be taxable tonight? A conservative group called Advancing American Freedom, founded by the former Vice President Mike Pence, now urging Congress not to bend to gamblers who, and they would tell you this, they say they are losers under the new One Big Beautiful Bill that was signed into law by the president. Here's why. Before the bill was passed by Congress last month, simple math equation, right? We're making up the numbers here, but let's just say you were gambling and you win $100,000 over the course of the year. You lose $100,000 over the course of the year. What do you owe on taxes? Nothing. It's pretty simple, right? All right, here's how that changes, because under the new tax provision, flip to the new one. Let's say again that you win over the course of the year $100,000 and lose $100,000. Here's the thing, it's this right here. Only 90% of it is now deductible. So even though you broke even, you would owe taxes on $10,000. Pay Uncle Sam, even though it was net. Nevada's Democratic Congresswoman Dita Titus told me last month that they're trying to fix this.
It pushes people into the black market if they don't do regulated gaming because they have a tax disadvantage. And the black market doesn't pay taxes, isn't regulated, doesn't help with problem gaming. So it's bad for the industry as well as for the player.
But the group of Advancing American Freedom wants to go even further. No gambling losses would be deductible. Basically, they're pushing back on all this. With me now is Mark Short, former chief of staff to the Vice President Mike Pence. Hello, sir.
What's up, Mike?
So your group says keep it as is. The gambling community and a bipartisan group of lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats, say, you know what? Even though they passed this last month, say we need a fix. Why keep it as is?
Well, let's step back for a second. I think when we passed tax relief in 2017, one of the hallmarks of that bill was actually simplifying the tax code and reducing the number of deductions. I think that's healthier for Americans as opposed to Congress tipping the scales in favor of one industry over another with all sorts of deductions. I bet most Americans don't realize that prior to now you had 100% deduction on gambling losses and probably be surprised by that.
But doesn't that make sense, I think, to most people from in a way, it's their business, right? It's no different than if a baker has a store and you add up all the goods, the labor, the this and the that, and if it's 100K revenue and 100K in costs.
Sure, it's different. Sure, it's different.
How so?
Because what about your stock portfolio, Blake? I'm sure you make a lot of winnings in your stock portfolio.
I wish I had more.
But let's say you had losses.
Okay.
You know what you're capped at?
Minus $3,000.
$3,000.
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
So that's a cap on actually investing in growing companies, creating many more jobs, and yet we're allowing 100% deduction on your gambling losses.
But my stock portfolio is not a business, though.
I have my own FanDuel account. I'm not arguing this from a paternalistic standpoint.
Right.
I'm arguing this from an economic standpoint. This is not what we should be doing with the tax code, is basically creating winners and losers within it. And so if we're going to say that you can have a $3,000 cap when you're investing in the stock market on the amount of losses you can take, but you can have 100% on your gambling losses, it seems like that's a little bit out of whack to me.
But for these folks, it's their business, though, and I guess that's the difference there, potentially, no?
I mean, look, there's probably, as I said, I'm not doing this from a paternalistic standpoint. I have lots of my own vices, but I don't get to deduct how much beer I drink. And so, look, I think at the end of the day, the way this should be is we should be simplifying the code. And I think they see the amount of outrage from going 100% to 90% deduction. As you just said, if you had $100,000 wins and $100,000 losses, you're basically still allowed to deduct 90,000 losses. You're paying a tax on the delta, which is only $10,000. So you're paying basically 24% on that.
Covers.com says MGM and Caesars could see a net gain combined of $300 million as a result of the one big beautiful bill. In a way, is this bill good for the casinos while harming the participants?
Well, I think that the bill is good for business in general because it extended the tax basically brackets for all Americans. So I think the bill is overall good. But to think that you're going to come back and unwind something that just passed a few weeks ago, this isn't a mistake. It's not like, nobody saw this.
It was in there. It wasn't like hidden and pulled it and thrown in at the last second.
Of course it was in there because I think they needed the numbers to add up. So they put this in to try, and now they want to say, who did that? So we're going to go back and try to fix it when they knew exactly what they did when they put it in for the tax advantage.
Hang around. See you later in the show. Want to bring in here the other side. With me now is Doug Polk. He is a high-stakes poker player, considered one of the best heads-up, no-limit hold'em players in the world. Also the owner of Lodge Card Club and Upswing Poker, an online poker training site. Doug, thanks for being with us here on the Hill. You just heard Mark. Mark is a student of politics and knows this town inside and out. That's the argument from some. What say you?
Yeah, so Mark's point might make sense if you could carry forward losses in gambling like you can with stocks, but his point actually doesn't make any sense whatsoever because there's also an issue with gambling in our tax code where you're not allowed to carry forward losing years. So you might have a $3,000 cap on the amount of losses you can write off in a given year for your stocks, but then you can carry that forward to the next year for your next year's taxes. Not the case with gambling. Everything is year to year. There are no deductions moving forward. Putting that to the side anyway, because I think we should hone in on the issue at hand. I mean, look, you're taxing people on money they didn't make. You know, we have so many taxes in this country in so many forms. And frankly, I'm a little surprised to see the Republican Party looking for more taxation, looking to go after money that isn't even existing from these people. So, it hits my industry hard. Obviously, I'm pretty passionate about the issue, but the point remains, if you want taxes on money we made, that's fine. But if you want taxes on money we didn't, I have a serious problem with that. And it's wrong to do that to our community. I am happy to see that we have a lot of people working forward to try and fix this. I had an interview with Senator Cortez Masto the other day. She talked, she's actually working with people on, if you want to jump in, sorry.
Yeah, no. I had Dina Titus on the show. She represents Las Vegas. She's the Democrat from out there. She made the argument to me that this is going to push people underground. Do you buy that?
I mean, it's a fair argument. It's a fair argument just to kind of zoom out, right? So most people that gamble, at least at some serious sort of level, if you're a winning gambler, your margins are small. You know, you might gamble, let's just say $1 million a year, and you might make $1 million, or 1.1 million or 1.05 million. So you might be making 50K, 100K, 150K. This law essentially makes you, irrelevant. You no longer can actually even exist in your career path. Las Vegas has many professional gamblers in the city, but also they're all around the country.
You say it makes it irrelevant. That would and no career path. That would suggest that the industry's done. But I can't imagine you would go there, or are you?
Well, no, I'm saying specifically for like sort of the people that I represent, right? Which is like the for-profit gambling community. There are a lot of those people. But I think like in general, if we look at like how this will impact gambling, it's going to hurt it in terms of volume. And sometimes when we pass these laws to try and increase taxes, we don't think about that second order effect of what happens when people actually realize they're going to be taxed more on these things. They play less, they gamble less, they do less, they have less financial activities. So it seems like the kind of thing that got thrown onto this bill. And look, I'm not taking either side. I'm not Democrat or Republican when it comes to this. I'm just a one issue guy. It seems like, we can tap into some money here and these guys can't protect themselves. And it's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong what happened.
If this doesn't,
it's important that we rally against it.
If it doesn't get fixed, and I'll leave you with this, because who knows? Just because something's bipartisan in this town doesn't mean it gets done. If it doesn't get fixed, what does it mean for Vegas?
Well, it's going to have a drastic impact, not just for Vegas, but for many cities around the country. Many different states have, I live in Texas here. We have thousands of people that this will impact who can't play. You're going to see revenues drop. You're going to see tourism drop. You're going to see jobs lost. You're going to see a negative impact across the entire gambling space. But I do want to one more time reiterate, you cannot carry gambling losses forward. It is fundamentally different than the point that was made before.
All right. I'll leave it there. Doug Polk. And to Mark Short as well. Mark's sitting by listening. Thank you both for being with me tonight. Doug, best of luck out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Still to come tonight, here on the Hill, the viral American Eagle ad. Sydney Sweeney has so many folks chiming in, including the president.
She's a registered Republican? Oh, now I love her ad.
By the way, he's not the only one talking about this, why Customs and Border Protection and the Defense Department are as well. When we return.
Our Horse Patrol unit has great genes. Genes that can stand up to the most rugged of rides. It's not just what we wear every day, it's in our DNA.
There is a house in New Orleans. They call the rising sun.
All right, it's now gotten to this here as we begin August in the middle of summer. Seems that most have an opinion when it comes to this American Eagle ad right here featuring the actress Sydney Sweeney, known for her roles in Euphoria and White Lotus. And when I say a lot of folks chiming in, that includes Customs and Border Protection, who you saw there. Many, though, or some at least, criticizing the American Eagle Good Genes ad. The wordplay when it comes to jeans with a J and not and jeans with a G. You know the two different words. Suggesting that it teeters on the line of eugenics, implying that Sweeney's blonde hair, blue eyes present more idyllic physical traits. Others criticizing the, quote, woke scrutiny. At least that's where President Trump went. The gaggle, president commenting on this on the tarmac in Bedminster, New Jersey yesterday. One reporter pointing out that Sweeney has at least an interesting political registration.
She's a registered Republican? Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
And away we go. Full panel here with me now. Mark Short, back with me once again, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence. Yemisi Egbawali is a Democratic strategist. Kelly Meyer, News Nation Washington correspondent. And Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill. Hello to you all. Happy Monday. Not sure you thought that this is what we'd be talking about. But the president comes out on Truth Social today, Niall, and stands behind her and then takes a swipe at the criticism for the scrutiny essentially being, as he puts it, quote unquote, woke.
Yeah, and I think there's an obvious political calculus behind that. I don't honestly think that many people are outraged by this ad. I think most people take it as wordplay aimed at selling jeans. Right. But if you're Trump and you paint Democrats or liberals writ large as the kind of humorless people who are outraged about this sort of thing, you can cast them as out of step with most mainstream Americans. You know, Democratic friends of mine, I don't hear anybody, expressing great outrage or lighting up my phone to complain about the Sydney Sweeney ad. I don't think that's happening.
The admin's jumping in all over this, Kelly. Here was the DOD, the Defense Department earlier today. They posted a picture of Pete Hegseth walking off Air Force One, saying he has great genes.
Oh, that makes sense. We were over at DOD today and we heard them talking about something
really?
that was posted.
There you go. There's the insights.
They were giggling about that. So that makes sense that everybody's kind of chiming in on this. Well, first I'll say I haven't thought about American Eagle jeans since I was in high school. So now this is in front of everyone's mind. And, maybe we'll go get some jeans. But I know their stock has been up since this. But I do think it touches on that political divide that maybe brought Trump into the White House. He's wading into these waters, into these controversial topics and, bringing his comments to it, as we saw.
I think 3 people got upset about it on TikTok, and now we're all here, and we can't
the president,
get out
and the president
of it.
brings it up, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it becomes a political thing.
But that's what he's good at, commenting on pop culture. He keeps it topical. Right. I mean, he stays engaged. It's how he stays top of mind for everyone.
Right.
He stays top of mind, but also I think the reality is that in 24, you saw the Democrats lose voters among single young male voters.
Right.
And to the extent that woke left, if it's a small number, is attacking a beautiful American actress, that probably doesn't appeal well to that exact demographic the Democrats are bleeding. So keeping it in the storyline is probably politically smart for the president.
Another headline over the weekend, Charlemagne the God, and the president weighing in on this.
Maybe a Jon Stewart Colbert ticket, because Colbert's not going to have a job. He's not working because of President Trump, so they say.
Trump, he's a low QI individual who has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, knows nothing about me or what I have done.
The weird thing is that I watched the entire interview that Charlemagne did on Laura Trump's show, and he was actually quite complimentary to Trump and the campaign that he ran and connecting with pop culture and really connecting even like with folks online. He was more critical about Harris and Biden. And so sometimes I think Trump just has to take the win. Not everybody has to fawn over you. Like sometimes people can just be neutral about you and we can all keep going.
I don't like the fact that Trump's go-to insult for non-white people is low IQ individual. Now, he has used it about some white people as well, but he has a propensity to go there, not just in this instance, but Maxine Waters, Al Green, Jasmine Crockett are all people that he has described as low IQ individuals. Don't love that.
Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting just to see him again weighing in, especially he's always going to weigh in on people that don't agree with him. But it just brings more attention to this and also kind of just shows how he is wading into these waters with celebrities and pop culture. But it could come back to the fact that it's August and there's not too much else going on in town.
You and I, Mark, were talking earlier. It feels like Trump right now, he got the one big beautiful bill out of the way. It's the August recess. Which means lawmakers are out of town. He had nothing on his schedule today. And it just feels like if there was a 52-card deck, at least right out the gate, he's played a lot, north of 40 of those cards. And now there's a question of sort of where he goes from here.
Well, look, I think that the bill had a lot of his domestic legislative accomplishments in there, but there's still a lot to be played out on the foreign policy, front. And so I agree with you that even though people look at August as a time of quiet in this town because Congress is gone, it's exactly in those moments that the president sort of takes over the stage even more so. And so I'd sort of be on your toes about certain news cycles over the course of the August recess.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? That takes over the stage more so? Because at the end of the day, like he can control the Republican Party, but he can't control, foreign leader whoever.
Well, sure, but I think that there's less competition for any news cycle. I mean, he's dominant as it is a political figure now, but he has it all to himself, and so I think you'll probably be seeing him creating news cycles out August.
And that's exactly what he told me, and he warned me about offset, just saying, be ready for, even though Congress is out, I'll be over at the White House, and it's going to keep us busy because he could do anything that could get him back into the spotlight.
What are you looking forward to this next month as the president is seemingly again, it was nothing on the schedule today, nothing in the House, and this is what it was talking about today.
I imagine he'll lie on a sun lounger and not say anything for a month. That's how Donald Trump rolls, I believe.
I don't think that's coming. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I am surprised that he is not out promoting the big, beautiful bill. I heard about it all summer. Now's the time to promote it, and he seems to be just at home.
Should he be out pounding the road?
He should be. Yeah, he should be right now. It was a big win. It was a big win, not just on the tax front, but also provided the border security funding, provided funding for the military. Absolutely, he should be out promoting the bill.
Kind of surprised he hasn't gone there. We'll see where this month takes him. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Still to come. Other side of the break. I keep telling you to keep your eye on this story involving rare earth minerals. Tiny, tiny little things that are extremely, extremely important. New story out today, popping with a major headline, and I'll give you my take on the other side. Coming up as well on Elizabeth Vargas Report, she'll be talking to a relative of the emaciated Israeli hostage whose image was blasted out by Hamas. You don't see a lot of people showing that image, do you? We're talking about it here on News Nation, and Elizabeth has it 7.5 minutes away. My take, other side of the break, along with what's trending. All right, if you're just getting home, catching up on your day, let me show you some of the stories that are trending right now on thehill.com. This is where we started the show, led with tonight. We are at war. Redistricting fights explode across the U.S. The Texas governor there and the attorney general in that state threatening the arrest of Democratic lawmakers who have gone to other states trying to stop the redistricting process in the Lone Star State. How about this? We've had her on the show a bunch. Keep an eye on this. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's not sure if the GOP is, quote, leaving me. She says she's a voice of the base, and she has expressed some concerns recently about where her party is and where the president is. And then how about this? This is the worst nightmare for a lot of folks. United Airlines flight declares Mayday. This actually happened, we're now learning, at the end of last month. Left Dulles, which is a big United hub, turned right back around, engine failure. Landed safely, as we now know, but now learning about that Mayday call. To check out those stories and a whole lot more, all you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen or head on over to thehill.com. All right, time for my take now, and it is a headline that caught my eye. This right here. China is choking supply of critical minerals to Western democracies. As the Wall Street Journal reports, China is limiting critical minerals to Western defense companies who use those rare earth minerals to build the top flight technology that our U.S. military relies on. It's why last week I asked the White House if they will continue to invest taxpayer dollars in American companies to build the U.S.-based supply. How many companies? We're talking about several?
A lot, and we're going more. It's like we're going to have a lot of deals to fill out the supply chain. That's the strategy across critical minerals.
Just a few weeks ago, we had on the show the CEO of USA Rare Earths, and would you look at this? The company up substantially, 40+% over the last month. The thinking being maybe the government could soon jump in like they did in an historic deal with MP Minerals in July. And here's the point. Rare earths are most definitely the new battleground between the U.S. and China, something the current administration is dialed in on, and it appears at least so too are parts of Wall Street. I thank you for watching us tonight. I'm Blake Burman. See you tomorrow.